important thing at this stage is to disengage sugar farming from AFA, so that we can focus on matters sugar without being disrupted by matters pyrethrum and other crops, equally important. By moving away from AFA, we shall be living up to the maxim that bite small and chew finely to avoid constipation. AFA was a messy contraption. It was too obese to do anything good for us. Two, I thank the committee who found it appropriate to conduct public participation in Busia, where we mobilized farmers from the county and other stakeholders across the region to come and participate and make contributions about the bill. However, much as we want to pass this bill, I have some reservations informed by the question of ownership of Ken. Tenant farming is still continuing, whereby farmers become tenants on their own land, as millers own the sugar that have grown, they are growing on their own land. We need to interrogate that issue and see what proposals we can come up with to ensure that a farmer is not reduced to a tenant on his own land. And maybe that might require a deliberate move towards cooperatives, farmers' cooperatives in the sugar industry, so that inputs and whatever support the national and county governments wish to give reach the farmers through cooperatives and not through the sugar miller. The question about to-grower companies for me is a no-go area. They demonstrated total incompetence, and there were avenues for corruption, oppression, and exploitation of the farmer. Most of them were used to steal money from the same farmers, and they mostly became agents of the millers. I would love a situation whereby the farmer grows the cane, they organize themselves into groups, they are financed, they grow the cane, they own the cane, and when the cane is mature, they negotiate with the miller to say, I've got this much cane, how much are you willing to pay us? Or we move the next miller. The idea of government support to farmers being channeled through the millers tends to reduce the farmers to tenants on their own land. And that for me is unacceptable. Also, the bill is not very strong on the demand that factories modernize and begin producing more products than just sugar from the raw product called sugarcane. There's need for millers to invest in modern technologies. Of course, they are making profits right now because they are not paying the farmer for the entire value of the sugarcane. If they are compelled to pay the farmer the value of the sugarcane, most would close shop. So, I would also like to see amendments that will push towards modernization of the sugar industry in the country, also targeting the miller, so that the miller should pay the farmer for the array of products that are possible and have been achieved in other parts of the world, where we always compare ourselves to and wonder why they are so efficient and productive. Also, I fully agree with what Senator Halwale said, that harvesting immature cane should be punished. But beyond that, what is mature cane? Is it cane that is 15 months old, 16 months old, or 20 months old? I've seen studies done by the millers in this country which demonstrate that the optimum age for harvesting sugarcane in this country is 20 months, because the last 4 months the cane tends to grow almost half the size it was at the age of about 16 months. The sucrose content also rises, and it's a win-win situation for the miller and the farmer. So mature cane should be clearly defined in terms of sucrose content and weight and value of the cane, at what stage does the cane become mature. So it should not be abstract that immature cane is what you see, what the eye sees. Immature cane should be determined scientifically through measures, through weights, through measuring and whatever. The other thing that is needs to be addressed, and this is a global issue in terms of agriculture in this country, it's global to other areas, the question of inputs. Cartels have infiltrated inputs. The other day I was having a discussion with my good friend, Arap Menjo. And Arap Menjo was walking me through, he's a guy of agricultural, whatever it's called, farmers, Kenya Farmers, it was called what? Kenya Farmers Cooperative or something. Yeah, so Arap Menjo told me that in the colonial times, the colonial government had organized, or the colonizers had organized themselves in such a way that they controlled the production of seed through what is now the ADC farms and what have you. They control and they made sure that the seed was the correct quality. So whatever things that you are going to grow was the correct quality for what you are going to farm. Arap Menjo also informed me that then through I forgot the name of this, Kenya Farmers Cooperative, it was called Kenya Farmers Cooperative, they could purchase inputs for their farmers, first of all in bulk, to ensure that the prices are lowered, and then they could also ensure the quality of the inputs, so that the kind of things we're having with fertilizer here, where anybody can import fertilizer today, could not arise. The farmers controlled it. And then at the end of the day, they controlled the pricing of the products and whatever in conformation with the other players on the market. So that the farmers were never at the mercy of cartels. But when the AFC was destroyed, no, when the Kenya Farmers Cooperative was destroyed, KFC was destroyed. Thank you for the information. The great senator from my neighboring county of Sabot, of West Pokot rather. So, such an arrangement needs to be made so that we can protect the farmers from the rogue players in the production of seed and in the production of other inputs. And maybe we should be thinking of these vast ADC lands and turning them into multiplication centers for quality seed. Because if you look at how seed in the sugar industry is utilized, they're just going to pick sugar cane of a certain age, usually young cane, and they give the next farmer to grow and they propagate it that way. They need to be controlled on the seed so that we know to what number of cuttings or what number of ratoons can still be used as a seed cane. But I was feeling that the vast ADC lands, especially if we can recover them from those who have stolen them, can be put to good use as centers for working in partnership with the Kenya the sugar research centers to provide us with quality seed. So those interventions would really be of help. The other thing that has been overlooked is the environmental damage that sugarcane causes. Sugarcane farming is very, very heavy on the environment. It takes a lot of chemicals, it takes a lot of fertilizer, and all those things. And a lot of our water masses have been eutrophied. Like Lake Victoria now, due to the farming methods of Ken in Western Province, is actually a dying lake. And the soils within the sugar belt, let nobody cheat you, most of the soils have become too acidic for viable farming. So there should also be something must be done, especially to control the growing of cane in lowlands. Our swamps have all been drained. We don't have swamps. In my own village, in my village, we used to have a beautiful swamp called Kakolite. Kakolite in Ataso means basically the home of fish. This is an area where fish used to breed a lot, and then the fish would go down to Lake Victoria during the heavy rains. These swamps have been drained. There are now sugarcane plantations. And no wonder there is no fish in Lake Victoria. One of the contributing factors. So we must also come up with the mechanisms to control and to mitigate the environmental damage that sugarcane farming is causing. Otherwise, we might be doing what is akin to cutting down Kakamega forest, led by Senator Halwale, creating temporary jobs by those who will be cutting down the wood and hewing it into government or a cluster of governments within a cluster come up with the regulations or the implementation of this act. For me, it's very, very important. And so we must empower our counties on that mandate. Otherwise, it will just be wishful thinking. Mandate that requires the question of Kera being given money should not be there unless Kera is devolved. Kera is unconstitutional, the same as Kura is. So you cannot give them money. they need to be put under the Council of Governors, so that when they execute their role of doing rural roads and urban roads, they are doing it under the supervision of the governors. And we only leave Kenya to execute what we would call national highways. So with those few remarks, Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, I unreservedly support this bill. I support the creation of clusters that will serve the broad interests of the Republic of Kenya to become the dominant and preeminent producer of sugar on the continent of Africa and globally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I support.
Senator Veronica Maina.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to debate the bill that is on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,